It's another Throw Together Thursday, where the Erudite Cowboy will show you how to make the only dish a cowboy needs to know how to make. Chili. And this time, I'm actually making chili. Let me show you what we got. We're gonna start with grass-fed beef. I got this in Colorado. I got a couple of, these are usually about 1 pound each. They've just been defrosting in the fridge there. And so I'll show you how to brown that up. We're gonna start with that. And I'll show you how to start building up and layering up flavors so that you can make a chili that'll win any chili cook-off you enter. Watch. Of course, the first thing to do is to open that up. So let's see. I think today I'm going to use my trusty Mac chef's knife. What is that? That's about a 7-inch blade, I believe, is what that one is. I'll put a link in the description. This is one of my favorite blades. It is. I like it quite a bit. It flat slices through stuff. Nice and sharp. Kind of a smaller blade for those of you who don't want those big Mac Daddy ones like I usually use, the 8 inches. So I will go ahead and leave, like I said, I'll leave a description so you can see which kind of knife this one is. Mac from Amazon. And we'll go from there. Let me get a cutting board out. I like these bamboo ones. I'll put a link in the description too. But these are really super duper sustainable. And they cut nice. They're tough, but they don't damage your knives. And dried up wood actually has more of antibacterial properties than the plastic stuff does, which ends up actually nurturing bacteria in the cracks that you end up inevitably cutting into the surface of the board. So, highly recommended. Let me get these starting to fire up here. I've got another camera over here. It's my first time trying to do 2 cameras. We'll see how it works. So, I'm on this camera over here now. Right? We're gonna turn up the flame a little bit. Probably go about medium is what we're gonna do. And tell you the truth, this is my biggest burner. Gives me the biggest, toughest flame, hottest flame. These are my medium ones, these 2 back here, and then I've got a small one up here in the front. For just the general everyday kind of cooking, I like that one up there. So just nudge my camera. I better check to make sure it's still looking good. Whoa, there you go, easy. Okay, yeah, you can see in there pretty well. All right, so as usual, I do not measure anything. And I want to teach you how to do that. So you go ahead and look at what I'm doing and try to mimic what I'm doing. Or if you find a recipe that you like and you want to do something similar, I'll just show you kind of what we do. But chili is one of those things you don't need a recipe for. You really don't. You can start with oil. How much you putting in there? Just enough to coat the bottom of the pan, basically. Swirl it around a little bit. See how much we got in there? I'm just using some good olive oil. Because I like good olive oil. That's right. If you like another kind of oil, use it. I don't care. It's your chili. All right, so we're going to start by browning up the meat. Let me get this in here. There's quite a bit of fluid in there that you get normally from freezing and thawing out your beef. That's just normal. Don't have to use all that. You can toss that out. It's not a problem. Oh, not tracking very well, are you, today? Oh, I gotta do my magic sign. Here we go. Now it's gonna track. My fault. Operator error, as usual. I really probably ought to hire a cameraman or gal. Somebody to follow me around with a camera, because I'm obviously not cutting it this way. I'm glad you all watch, by the way. I appreciate you. So, again, my favorite utensil, once again, bamboo. Love the way this sort of I guess you call it a wooden spoon, but I love the way that this one works. I've got a point there. You can get up into the corners and such nicely, and pretty broad across the bottom, so you can stir things gently and move them as you need to. Beef's stewing. I can hear it sizzling already. So what we're going to do is just start knocking this down into pieces. It's kind of a rough or coarse grind, kind of what I'm dealing with here. This is what I like. You like it finer, go finer. If you like it rougher, go rougher. You can actually even, and I'll do a chili recipe like that, where you can actually dice it up yourself. Some of the Mexican chilies I make, yeah, I'll call it chili. Chili con carne, whatever, green, tomatillo type, or whatever you like. Just trying to get a rag out of here. Because a cook, if you're going to be in the kitchen, you ought to have yourself a rag. Just hanging on your belt here. And it works for everything. You wipe your hands on it. You can lift a pot with it. It gives you a little bit of protection. It's not enough to, you wouldn't want to be reaching and grabbing a heavy dish out of an oven. But just for picking things up for a few seconds, you do fine with that. Grabbing a hold of things you need to, that's fine. It's all good that way. So while this is now doing its thing, I've got it spread out nicely so it can brown as quickly as it can. While it's doing that, I can start messing around with other things that need to be cut up. In this case, I'm talking about a good old yellow onion. Let me get a bowl to put the compost in. All right, one for the garden, one for the chili. I don't know, do you all need to know how to chop up an onion? If you like, I'll show you how. Just leave a comment and I'll do a video showing some knife skills, showing how to chop up an onion. There's more than one way to do it. That's the big secret right there. I see how some people do it. Some people are just so super duper fast about it. And I reckon I'm pretty fast, but I've seen some other people who go super fast. And then there's other people who are a little afraid of that or intimidated by it. And I don't want to scare anybody. You don't have to go fast. Let me just tell you that. You watch old Jacques Pepin. I hope I said it right. Good old Frenchie like him. I don't want to be messing up his name. But Jacques Pepin, he cuts up an onion a little differently than I do, but I think it's a very serviceable method. I think that anybody who wants to learn how to cut an onion, watch him do it a few times, and you'll find, I think that it's not very intimidating. It holds all the pieces all together while you're working on it. Me, I just get a rough cut going on. I do some slices, and then I slice those slices into little dices. Slicing and dicing, that's why I say it that way. And you end up with a fairly nice product, see? Doesn't take but a few seconds to do either. That's good enough for chili. Because I tell you what, chili ain't one of them fancy dishes. It's one of those that's just very approachable. Anybody can do it, and everybody likes it. So it's nice. It's one of those things you can't go looking at somebody else's chili unless you're in a chili cook-off, in which case, yeah, then you got some judges who are going to do that. But if you're looking at somebody's chili and you don't like the way it's done, do it yourself the next time. That's all you got to do. You don't have to be fancy about it. Just do your own way. Do what way you like. And pretty much everybody's going to like it. Somebody's going to like it anyway. Woo. That's a pretty hot onion right there. Going to cook up real sweet though. All right, let's take a look at our meat here. I think it's time. You can see it's starting to brown around here. It's time to go ahead and just start flipping it around in this pan. And you know, chili is one of those things that I'm doing. I don't know, people are kind of crazy about one pot dishes and that sort of thing. You can mess up as many dishes as you want, but really you can do it in one pot. I'm going to show you how that works. Now, if you're in a hurry to do it a different way, I can show you how to do that too. There's secrets for that too. It won't be real secret, but I'm just saying there's ways to do it where you can go a little bit quicker by using frying pans for doing the different dishes, the different parts of the dish, and layering up those flavors and then adding them together as you go in the one pot. So today I'm just going to be cooking in the one pot, which means that I'll have to be pulling that meat out after a little bit. Just trying to brown it up right now. And then what I'm going to use is the drippings from that meat is going to help flavor my onions. And that's what I talk about when I talk about, that's what I mean when I'm talking about layering flavors. Because you don't eat something and it's not like a tiramisu where it's like, okay, well that's the chocolatey part, that's the creamy part, that's the coffee kind of part, that's the lady fingers kind of part. It's not like that. But you layer everything up so every bit that goes into the dish has flavor that adds to it. Now it all comes together, it's all going to be a one flavor type of thing when you're all done. So it's not like I said, it's not stratified in any way, not layered as far as flavor goes. But you don't want to put something in there. Like if I were to go and cook up a whole chili and then put in a potato with no flavoring at all and just leave it in there, every time you went and bit on a piece of that potato, you'd be like, oh, okay, there's a dead spot, no flavor in there. I find that with some people's chicken dishes. They'll go and they'll put a chicken in things and you're like eating along and like good sauce and flavor, the tortilla's nice and all this kind of stuff, and then you'll get a bite of that chicken and it's like, that's not pleasing. So that's what we talk about that's what I mean when I talk about flavoring, layering flavors. So we're gonna do that. Being that it's a chili, everything you're gonna put in there is gonna have the thought of chili. You're gonna be thinking chili as you put it in there. So you're gonna be putting chili beans, and to the chili beans, you're going to be adding some sort of a spicy flavor. To the onions are spicy themselves, but we'll add a little something to spice that up. The beef over here, we're going to heavily spice that. So all of that will be adding to the flavor as you go. So as far as some of the other things that go in there, you already know that I've got beef in there and I've got onions. Now I'm not averse to using a can of diced tomatoes, so that's what we're gonna do today. When they made these easy to open, now you don't even need a can opener anymore. You just pop the top on it and you're good to go. I think that's kind of fun. I don't know why, but I like it. So these ones here are organic tomatoes. Let me see. This one here is organic diced tomatoes. These ones are organic. This is organic tomato sauce. I usually go, when I'm doing a couple pounds of things, the ratio is kind of like a pound of beef, a can of tomatoes, a can of tomato sauce, a can of tomato paste. And I'll kind of just do them like that. Same thing with beans. I'll add a can of beans for each pound of meat. Usually. You look and do how you want to do it. This one I got to use a can opener. So anyway you go, I always wipe the lid of my cans because they get dusty sitting over there in the pantry and you don't want to be injecting that into your food. It's probably doesn't make any difference at all, but it makes my mom feel good when I do it that way, so I'll keep doing it that way. All right, I got some beans. Another thing that I'll tell you about is that I don't add any liquid per se, just like watery type of stuff, to my chili. But on the other hand, I don't remove any of the liquid from any of the products that I'm putting in there. Like I've got my pinto beans here, and it's got quite a bit of liquid in there. I'm just dumping the whole thing in there. It'll cook down and concentrate whatever flavor's in that water. So now I put out some cans here, but I don't think I put out near enough. So I'm gonna run over to the pantry here and get a few more. This is nice to mix them up. There's another tomato sauce and more diced tomatoes. Got some green chilies over here too. All right, so, oops, oh, I lost you over here. Hello? Okay, come on back. She thought I turned into that flower pot over there. Okay, so I got more beans and more tomatoes and sauce. Open those up here in a moment. But I decided I've got these other great northern beans. Why not? I'm gonna go ahead and open that up and throw those in there. That way you get some darker beans, some lighter beans. Time to look at the meat. I can smell it starting to do. Starting to get brown. You can smell brown. Yeah, you can. It's got that cooked meat flavor. We want that good flavor in there. That's why we're doing this. Otherwise, you could just dump a bunch of meat into your chili when it's done and let it kind of get cooked up. And I don't know, it'll probably only take about 15 minutes once it comes up to temperature, get cooked up. But we want to get extra flavor on there. And the brown color is flavor. All right. Ooh, I found also in the pantry there, I found some green chilies. See, those are really good because they're spicy, a little bit spicy. I'm not going for melt your head kind of spicy. I can make a chili like that if that's what's called for. If I got a bunch of macho teenage kids coming by and they want to show off to their girlfriends how tough they are, they can eat. Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll make it hurt. Okay, but a nice mild chili does two things. Gives a little bit of flavor. The texture, you're not going to notice it because it's like so many other things that are in there, but it gives a little different color in there. It's nice. In fact, if you wanted to do a green chili, which I suppose we'll do, chili verde, we'll do that one day. I'll show you how to make that. Now you do use tomatillos instead of the tomatoes because they've got a nice green flavor. And then for the chilies, you would definitely want to go with some green chilies in there. You stick with the green when you go with the chili verde. Go all green. Okay, now I got a bunch of cans open. I think I'll have enough for what I need to do now. Maybe too much. Oh. I don't worry about it, and I don't want you worrying about it either. You start to cook a chili, you just keep going with it until you get it right. You like it. This is not a dish to be intimidated by. As you can see on the camera here, let me come back here and take a look and see what it's looking like. Yeah, you can see from back here, you can see it's turning nice and brown. A little bit of pink left in there. I'm not too worried about that. Here's the thing, I'm ready to move on. Since I'm ready to move on, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out of it. I'll just put it over here on the countertop. See what I was saying about that rag just being handy? Grab it up, grab your spoon, or paddle. It's kind of more like a paddle, really. And what I'm doing is I'm attempting to leave a little bit of liquid behind in here. There is quite a bit. If I were to actually like strain it and drain out the meat like that, I'd probably have about a quarter cup of liquid left in there, which is good. It's good. A little bit of beef fat and a little bit of the olive oil that's in there and whatever other liquids are in your beef. That's in there. So now put that back in there on the fire, I mean. Put that back on the fire, yeah. And now it's time to get the onions going. Another layer of flavor. So get those in there. What'll happen with an onion, I'm gonna turn up the heat just a little bit here. Now we're kind of medium high, I would say. When you get, there you go. When you put the onions in there and the liquid, they're gonna soften a little bit first. They're gonna soak up some of that liquid and then they're gonna give off their own liquid. Now we're gonna make sure that it does that and encourage it to do that by adding some salt. Now I use a good sea salt in everything that I do. It's got all kinds of micronutrients and such in there, all your different oh, what am I trying to say here? Not vitamins. Oh. Minerals. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that salt, it's got all the different minerals in there that you like. So that'll work for you, do some good for you, and I just like the way it tastes anyway. Now, my beef here is just good. It's hot. It's just a nice, probably time to go ahead and get a spoon out anyway, because you got to be tasting as you go along. So this is just beef that's just been fried up, basically. I have not put any seasoning of any sort on it yet, because it's going to go back in the pan, and at that point, we can encourage it to suck up a little bit of flavor. That's good tasting beef just by itself. Got it from a small man. I got it from a small ranching family up in Colorado. Last time I was visiting. It's up near Glenwood Springs. Anyway, that's some good beef. It was worth dragging it all the way back here to Arizona. So I'm always looking for good beef, just so you know. If you raise beef, let me know. grass-fed. Only way to eat it. Only way to do it. All right, so now the onion is doing its thing. And like I said, we put in salt, so the onions and salt, I don't know, they go nicely together. I'm taking my little pepper mill here and get myself, I don't know, probably about 10 or 11 cranks of pepper in there. Yeah, how much? I don't know, that much. Pepper, it just does something nice. We expect it. Expect a little bit of pepper in our food. We enjoy it, so we're just gonna do like that. Get some in there. Layering it in there. So our onions will be a little bit peppery. All right. Now I can see that the water has basically been absorbed at this point. We got some salt in there, yeah, okay. We did that, so that's good. It's doing its thing. Oh, I'm gonna put a little bit more oil in there, because we're gonna caramelize those onions a little bit and get to the point where they're gonna pick up some of their sugars. We're gonna get those onions caramelized a little bit, so they let their sugars off and browned up. And brown's flavor. Brown is a flavor in the kitchen. When you're cooking and you go for brown, you're doing a good thing. That's a good way to go. So, we're letting that do a little bit. That's onions with their pepper. And I've got this big old jar of garlic already diced up. I have since decided that I'm really not going to be doing like that anymore. So I'm kind of using it up. You see it in my recipes here. I'm just going to dump a bunch of that in there. Go ahead and put it in with the onions, because they're kissing cousins. They get along. They like each other. One will flavor the other as the other flavors the one. So we didn't put the garlic in right away with the onions, because garlic doesn't really need to be cooked that long. If it gets cooked too long and you end up browning it too much, sometimes you end up getting kind of bitter. You don't want that. So anyway, at this point, these onions are kind of translucent. They're looking pretty nice. We can get a little color on them. They don't have to be cooked down any fancy way. There's people who will show you a 1 hour video. Now come on, why do you? There you go. Oh my phone. Oh, you know what it is? I didn't really look. That's my fault. Again. Here we go. Now we'll flop around as much. Okay, so the onions, yeah. You can watch an hour-long video about how to cook an onion just right. And it takes about an hour to do it really nicely. But we're not really going for that. We're not really highlighting the onion itself. It's just going to be part of what else is happening in here, and it's going to kind of do its business, kind of adding its flavor in there, and mix in and play well with all its buddies in there. So it doesn't have to be terribly fancy around that. So we've got the onion and the garlic doing their thing with a little bit of pepper. The reason I added the oil, did I talk about that yet? The reason I added the oil is because as things start to caramelize, well, you can see up there on the side of the pan, some of the sugars are splashed up there. They start to brown and stick pretty heavily. So now we're at this point, we're going to go ahead and, whoops, this one. Now if I can pick it up, there it goes. All right, get that baby back in. All right. Now what we can do is we can add the green peppers. We're going to add those in there now because they're pretty much cooked about the same amount as those onions are. And they're about the same texture at this point. So they kind of go in there nicely. They add a little bit of liquid, not too much. So we got to move it quickly at this point. Get something in there that's got a little more liquid before we get too crazy. Oh, almost forgot. I do have some fresh peppers. Mrs. Erudite Cowboy cut them up already for me. But I probably should have put these in earlier. But here's the thing. Sometimes you forget what you got, and then you come along and you say, oh, I'd like to add that in there. Well, Here's the thing, they should have gone in there about the same time as the onions so that they get the same amount of cooking. I didn't do that. So now I'm gonna pull the onions out, put them in the dish over here with the beef, and we'll cook these separately so that they can get their time in the sauna. Spa day. Let me grab my paddle here. There we go. Now see how we're doing? We're just starting to, we're literally layering them here. Getting these things going here. But we're literally going to be, no, we're literally layering the ingredients, but we're figuratively going to be layering the flavors. So now I've got those peppers, they're ready to go in there. Got to add a little more olive oil, otherwise things will just be sticky mess. Because we've got a lot of sugar in that pan right now from the onions. You got to keep that in mind. They didn't go anywhere. I took out most of it, but there's still going to be a little bit of sugar in there, and that's going to want to burn if you don't get that out of there. If you don't, well, if you don't handle it right. So, we do like so. Gonna need a little more salt here too. Remember, we have not salted the beef yet. So when we put the beef in there, it's gonna kind of suck up a lot of the salt. And then we'll test it for flavor at the end, just to see what we think about all that. So, let's get these going a little bit. These ones, I'm gonna go hot on the flame. On the flame, that is. The peppers, they're sweet ones. They're just little miniature peppers. We've been using them in our salads and such, but now they're not terribly pretty, but they're perfect for this kind of dish because they're gonna be cooked down. So there they are. They're getting happy in there. Now we can start talking about some of the flavors that we're gonna be doing in here. Now, of course, we're gonna wanna do some chili powder. There, I got some McCormick dark chili powder. I don't care if it's dark or it's light or it's purple. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just a nice, you gotta be able to smell it. If it smells good to you, then that's a good way to go. Now, I've never made chili exactly the same way twice, so I'll do more recipes like this if you want them, and I'll show you other things that you can use besides just a plain old chili pepper powder, I should say. But this is the easy way to go. It's simple, doesn't hurt a thing. It gives you a good consistent flavor. But I'll show you different ways to use like chipotles in adobo sauce. That's another way that you can go. You can use hot sauces to flavor them up. You can do all kinds of different ways. And sometimes I'll use multiples of them. Today we're gonna kind of just go easy. Go nice and easy and just show you an easy way to do this so you're not excited about it. You're just gonna go ahead and cook it up and be happy about it. And everybody's gonna be happy that you did. Now, you hear that? That popping? That's the sound of some of the skins blistering, some of the sugars getting happy. You got a lot of good things going on right there when you got the chilies popping like that in your pan. So, I'm leaving them a little bit longer. So, see, if I'd have put them in there with the onions, what would have happened is the onions would have given them some of the liquid to kind of sop up some of the sugars that are burning in that pan right now. Oh well, I messed up a little bit, but don't tell anybody else. Let them figure it out on their own. Just keep that between us, you and me. All right, so these are popping along nicely. Skins are blistering. You can see that at the bottom of the pan, getting a lot of sugar built up there. So that's really all I was looking to do. These are cut nice and small enough that even if you get a big piece in your mouth, it's not going to be off-putting in any way. So now's a good time for us to go ahead and add some chili powder. Well, you know what? Let me add all this back into the pan first, and then I'll show you how you measure your chili powder. Because you know I'm averse to measuring anything. You're never going to look at my recipe and say, oh, okay, so 3 bits of this and 5 dashes of that. Okay, this is how you do it. You go right across and create a layer across the top of it. Did you see that on the other camera? Figure that out on the other camera? That's where you start. From there, you're gonna do some taste testing and decide if you wanna go up or down. Well, you can't really go down once you put the chilies in, but you can decide if you want it any spicier than that. Let's get that in there, get it to adhere to the meat and onions and peppers that we have in there, and then from there we can start putting in our more liquidy ingredients. So, let me get that going here. Show you what that looks like. Kind of just going in there, going deep with my paddle here and rolling it around. I'm not worried about any of that that's stuck onto my spoon here, because as we start putting more liquidy ingredients in there, it's just going to take that right off the spoon. It's not going to be a problem at all. So all the salt that we've had in there to this point is being married with the beef. You can see how nicely the chili powder is coating everything that's in there. That's what we call happiness going on right there. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with the liquidiest. I'm going to go with the liquid. You say it. Has the most liquid. That's the beans. I'm going to start with that, because what that's going to do is start concentrating the liquid from those beans. Will start concentrating the flavors in there and such. Will start concentrating, and we'll start boiling off a little bit, because we don't want something that's all soupy at the end. That's soup. That's not chili. So let me get this mixed in. Look how pretty it is already. This is now the time, now that you've got the bulk of everything in there, now it's time to turn this down. How far? Low as it goes. Just turn it down. Now we're going to go with our tomato sauce. I think I opened an extra tomato sauce. I don't need that much tomato sauce. All right, let me set that aside. Let's look at that. Oh no, that's not. Okay, these are diced tomatoes here. I'm going to use those. I'm going to start by putting one of each in here. And if I decide it takes the rest, like I normally do, then I'll go and do that. I don't want to lead you astray. And don't forget your tomato paste. Now you might be saying, Erudite, why, if I've got tomato sauce, do I need tomato paste? Which I'll say, I'll tell you what. Tomato paste adds that silkiness in there, that finish that kind of just keeps everything together, makes everything happy. It's magic tomato. Yeah, we'll call it magic tomato going on. Now, how do you open these things, get it all out of there? I'll tell you what I do. I open the top, and then I turn it over, and I open the bottom. Now, don't lose your minds just yet. I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's just fine. But what you do is you leave the bottom in there, and then when you come over here and you want to put it into your dish, you take your spoon and just shove that bottom all the way through, and that pretty well gets it all. See that? We've got a little bit left. Well, I don't know if they're making paste cans differently, but used to be I would be able to get that bottom all the way through and just push it on out, leaving very little in the can. So let's go mix this up a little bit and see where we are. Told you to keep a rag on your belt, didn't I? Towel, and I go and I leave it behind all the time. Well, you're not here to tell me right now, so you're letting me go astray. That's coming together nicely, but it does require the rest of these tomatoes and tomato sauce. you go. Filled that pot, didn't I? We just got to let that come up to temperature a little bit. That'll help some of those, the tomato paste particularly, but the sauce also to kind of relax a little bit, to get up in there and everything, and it'll allow me to stir it a little more easily, which will allow all the flavors to blend. And at that point, then I can go ahead and give it a good taste, see where we are, see whether other things I might want to add to it. Isn't that a pretty bowl? Pretty bowl of chili right there. Got different colors of beans in there. Got the peppers that are nice and bright red and yellow. And every once in a while you see this little bit of green chili. That pleases me to see different colors like that. I like it. Well, not really come up to temperature yet, but that's going to start bubbling all over the place if I don't take a little out. So, time for the cook to try the chili. Now, I'm just going to try it just the way it is right now. I like cheese and I like sour cream or crème fraîche. I just did a recipe on my channel how to make crème fraîche. It's one of the easiest things in the world to do. I did it in 2 parts so you could see what it takes to prepare it, and then 24 hours later what it looks like. I can show you what it looks like here again in a minute because I just did those yesterday. So then I'll show you what that looks like, but that's kind of a sexy sour cream, if you will. It's pretty tasty. Nice in there. I wish you could see what this looks like. This velvetyness that you got on the spoon from that tomato paste. It's just good stuff. Now, let me give it a taste. All right, that's tasty. That's nice. It's very strong with the tomatoes. Now those will mellow out as they start to suck up the flavors from other things. The spice is nice. What I would do is actually serve it at this spice level with a collection of hot sauces alongside with it. And I've always got a half a dozen or more different hot sauces. I'll bring them out next time I do a recipe of chili, and I can show you what that looks like. But for now, I think this is going to be pretty okay. See, Mrs. Erudite Cowboy does not like anything spicier than ketchup. So I will add hot sauce to mine and leave it like this for her. Let me show you. Crème fraîche. Crème fraîche is this beautiful product you see in here. It's just so easy to make, and it just comes out beautiful. You can put a big dollop of that on there. Adds a lot of flavor. It's nice. Mellows things out too. Like Mrs. Erudite Cowboy always complains, even when I'm trying, and you see me trying to go easy on the chili here, and even so, it might be too spicy for her, in which case she'll put a dollop of that in there, mix it in, and that'll mellow it out a little bit. Me, I just like cream anyway, so I'm gonna put it in there and add some sour cream. I'll add some hot sauce to bring it back up. A little spicier. So I'm gonna let that come up to temperature, and let it boil for a little bit, just so everything's nice and mixed together, and give it one more taste test to see if it needs any salt, any more pepper, any more spice, or maybe I forgot something else and I wanna go with something else entirely. In which case, that's what I would suggest you do, is just tweak it right at the end, just before you serve it. Good dish of chili also. Just one thing you should know, it gets better in the fridge. So we'll be eating all this. We'll be eating this all week. I'll get the kids to come over and take a big dish of it, but there's enough in there for several meals for just Mrs. and me. And we'll enjoy it that way. It'll continue to get better, just like a spaghetti sauce would. Anyway, I'll leave you with some cow bees here in just a second. Gotta think of some cow bees. What if I said something like, be sincere, be spicy, and always be erudite. Oh, and be hitting the buttons. Like, subscribe, notify, all that kind of stuff. Let me know what you liked about this, and I'll make sure to do more of it for you. Take care.